Hey guys, this is Captain for Reporting for Duty. And if you're one of those people that are waiting to start recording your album, don't wait. Get started now. There's a lot of benefits, and we're going to talk about those and what you need to get started with a basic studio setup right now. Hey guys, this is Captain for Reporting for Duty, and for the first video of this new audio section of the channel, I want to talk about what you need to start recording. You know, I remember my first beginnings in getting a recording. Times have changed significantly since then. I remember when going into the studio, we really struggled because we had so much money to do it in the studio, and our bass player just couldn't seem to play his part right. You know, when that red button hit for record, he struggled and he made a lot of mistakes, and we could see the dollars climbing because back then it cost a lot of money, still does for studio time. And the question is do you need that anymore? Well, yes and no. For one, you're paying for the audio engineer's skills. You really are, as well as the equipment that you might not have. Well, anyway, back then it was just too expensive. And so I said, you know, we're going to have to start recording this ourselves, otherwise we would not make it within budget. But back then, it would cost tens of thousands of dollars to be able to do what you can do at home for under $1,000 today. It's gotten that good. So with that said, I started with a Tascam 4-track recorder, and I knew I wasn't going to get album quality back then. But I knew what I could probably record good enough that we could get those tapes out there and even sell tapes for cheap and help make some money. So what happened is I did that, and I got a $12 microphone. Yeah, a $12 cheap Radio Shack microphone. And it sounded as good as you just hear me right now. Right now I'm actually not using a great mic. I'm just using a Tacstar that's off the screen. And I do know that lighting might be an issue right now. I'm in the process of increasing the lighting in here in the studio, and I'm redoing the floor. I'm going to be putting in some bass traps in the studio. It's got a lot of growth to go, but it's in process right now. With that said, I had that 4-track recorder. Well, I graduated to a better 4-track recorder after that because I was making enough money to do that. And I felt we were able to really do a better recording. But still, it wasn't anywhere near what recording stuff is today. From there, I grew, and the technology started to grow. I went to an 8-track recorder. Now, back then, you could, at that point, have ADAT, but still, very expensive technology, and we just didn't have those kind of funds to do it. You know, we went from reel to reel, which I couldn't afford, so we had cassette, the 4 tracks, I went to a zip disk format, believe it or not, which did not hold up well. The zip disks didn't. And I moved on from that to this here, this Roland 2480. This is a really good 24-track digital recorder, but actually still by today's standards, it's behind in the times. It does a lot, and it can do a lot of great things, but I'm actually moving to a digital audio workstation, a full-fledged computer. I've actually got over there in a computer setup. I've got 16 inputs. And of course, I run this mixer through everything too. So I have this mixer, my rack gear, and all that here. But we're upgrading. So anyway, you're probably going, well, aren't you supposed to be talking about the studio? I am. This is my point. All these things were super expensive, and you don't need to spend that kind of money. Now, granted, you might want to later on import your tracks that you record now and give them to an audio engineer to do even better. That's a possibility too. So what do you really need to get started? Well, first, you're going to need a computer. You can do that, and you want that computer to be quiet. Now, it doesn't have to be the most powerful, up-to-date computer. A Core i5 is probably going to do everything you need. The more things called plugins and things you use, it is going to be more intensive. So you want to load as much RAM as you can, preferably a 64-bit operating system of Windows. So I'd say Windows 10 or coming up soon 11 might work. 64-bit Windows, you could probably get a computer if you're really careful with an i5 for $100. Check your pawn shop, but once again, a quiet one. You don't want to get one of these gaming computers with a zillion fans that are super loud. Quiet is key. Now, once you get that, once I said, probably $100, you're going to need a way to get your audio into that device. And the type of device you need is going to vary depending on what you're looking for. If you're going to be recording one person at a time or yourself, and then other people, you could probably do fine with a 1 or 2 input device. I would strongly recommend at least a 2 input device. Here is a Focusrite Scarlett. It is the Scarlett 2i4. It has 4 outputs. So you can record 2 inputs at once. I'd recommend something at least like this. This is a 2nd generation one. The 3rd generations are out now, but you can get the 2nd generation for probably about $100. Don't get generation 1 though, because if you're going to be plugging in guitars, the inputs for those were too hot and it'd often clip on your signal and make nasty guitar sounds. So this is an input device. You're going to plug that right into your HDMI input, and this is going to allow you to plug your guitars in, your microphones. Now I said I'm recording one person at one thing at a time. You might go, well, do I need 2 inputs? Well, maybe you're going to be singing and you're playing guitar at the same time, or maybe you're using acoustic guitar and you want to put 2 mics on it. It's a good idea to have 2. Also, if I'm a big fan of reamping, you might have one direct for your guitar and run just the dry signal, and the other one getting a mic'd amplifier, because that way we could then reamp that dry signal and change it any way you want. Or you're going to be using all these plugins nowadays that did not exist. When I was young and starting out, there was no such thing as a plugin. They just weren't there, and everything we're doing here would cost tons of money. So far we're saying like $100, $150 for a computer, $100 for a device, we're at like $250. The next thing you're going to need is a microphone, and I'd recommend getting a microphone stand as well. Now, you don't need to go out and buy the most expensive microphone you can find right away. If you're just getting started, you're probably going to want a microphone that could do a bit of everything. So one of the best ones you can have, and this will be good in any studio, and any studio that's worth anything has these, and probably has multiple of them because they're just that useful, and that is the Shure SM57. You can get one of these for around another $100. So now you're looking at, what, $350 or so, plus a stand and a couple cables, around $400. This you can use as an audio mic. Absolutely, it's not going to be the best, but it's great for amping cabs as well. So now you've got those inputs. You're going to want to probably get some plugins. If you're not a drummer and you need drumming, you're going to have to buy the drumming plugins. But for the hardware, you're pretty good. This is good enough to get you started. Now, granted, it's not going to bang you out with the pre's on this. I'm not going to give you Celine Dion quality, if you will, needing that high end. But if you're doing rock music and things, these are actually quite usable. And you be honest, you could do a good quality job with these, especially with some good plugins to help spruce things up. And there's a lot of free plugins as well, so you don't have to pay for them. Now, the other thing you're going to need is a digital audio workstation. In other words, the software for your computer to run on. Now, if you bought one of these new, it comes with software, but as I said, I'd recommend getting it used. It's going to save you a lot of money. Whereas the microphone, I'd probably say get the microphone new. It'd probably be for the best bet. But for one of these, you can get this used and save yourself some money that way. And I'd recommend checking out Reaper. Just go Google Reaper. Reaper is pretty much free to use. Now, granted, they want you to pay for a license, and I think you should. It's $60, so go ahead and play with it for free during your trial period, which is endless. But when you find that you like it, and I think you will, Reaper is very usable. There's no issues there with that. No problems are going to come. You could do anything pretty much that you could do with any of their software. You could get past that learning curve and get in there and do it. It's a great move for you to do. And then when you find out that you like it and how good it is, then spend the $60 and pay for it. And there you have it. You have a all-in-one cheap system to get you started, and then we can build up from there. Now, if you plan on recording a whole band at once, you're going to want a device with more inputs. You're going to want one at least a minimum of 4. I would recommend more than that. So my system set up, it's got 16 inputs, so I can have multiple on a drum set, guitars, everything all at once. But you might not need all that, especially if you're starting out. So my big thing is this. Don't wait. Don't say, I got to wait till I have that microphone. I have to wait till I have that really good preamp, because you're never going to be done. You're always going to be building your rack gear. I've got more rack gear that I'm going to be hooking up and changing and hooking things up, and I'm transferring when I go over to the DAW. It never ends. The gear movement never ends. So get started now, because if you get started now, you can get used to practicing, get used to the recording, learn how the recording process works, how that stuff works, learn to play to a click track so that you know you're on time, and all those things. And we'll talk about those more on another date. But there you guys go, enough to get you started for cheap. So thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Until next time, keep it frugal.